And we're back with the #2 Democrat in the House, Steny Hoyer of Maryland. So you watched Paul Ryan. How do you think he'll be different than John Boehner?
Well, I certainly think he'll be different. I think he's, as he pointed out, a movement conservative, more ideological than John Boehner. Very enthusiastic and perhaps not as wizened as John Boehner was because he went through it. But he has a lot of ability. He wants to do well. He wants to lead the Congress in a way that is effective. The fact is, though, it wasn't the speakership that was broken. It was a deeply divided, dysfunctional Republican Party, and that remains. It remains a party that has a very, very strong ideological bent, not only inside but outside. And that the outside influences, in effect, constrain what I think are the majority of reasonable, pragmatic Republicans, which is why, frankly, the Ryan budgets, which sets forth his visions of what he wanted to do, were never implemented by the Republican Party in the House of Representatives.
All right. Mr. Hoyer, we're going to come back after a commercial. We'll talk more about Paul Ryan and a few other things. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson. We're back with Congressman Steny Hoyer, the Assistant Democratic Whip. Congressman Hoyer, when you listen to Paul Ryan, you mentioned the challenges he's got in his own party. What do you see in terms of any kind of chance for bipartisanship?
Well, you know, he said the solutions needed to be collaborative. And if he means that, we're certainly willing to work with him and to try to solve the problems. We need to get people back to work. We need to pass a highway program. Frankly, we need to pass the XM bill, which was bottled up in committee. He talks about relying on committees. Jeb Hensling and the committee bottled up a bill that came to the floor and had a majority of Republicans for it and all but one Democrat for it. So he's going to have to take some risks, and he's going to confront the same challenge that John Boehner confronted when he said, pragmatically, in order to keep the government running, in order to keep the economy growing, we're going to have to take some actions. We'll see if he can get the support that John Boehner found so difficult.
He talked about a bold vision. And when he offered bold visions in his budget years, it was often a big, big target for Democrats. I mean, isn't that a recipe, if he's going to offer bold visions, for more fighting over ideology?
Well, if he's going to offer, as he says, movement conservative bold visions, yes, the answer to that is correct. We're not for changing Social Security as it exists today. We're for strengthening it. We're not for making Medicare a voucher program. So some of those bold visions that he talks about are things that have a good debate, and we think we win that debate with the American public. On the other hand, to the extent he wants to sit down and work collaboratively to solve problems, but one of those is comprehensive immigration reform, and he's already taken that off the table because they don't trust the president. I'm not sure what that has to do with the House of Representatives passing substantive, constructive legislation that the Chamber of Commerce supports and labor supports and a broad spectrum of the country supports.
You've been a leader. You are a leader. His promises about how he's going to make it home on the weekends, and what did you make of those?
Well, I was laughing, and I wish him good luck. He does have small children. I went through that stage myself. I don't have small children now, but I do have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and it's wonderful to be able to spend some time with them. But the fact of the matter is he's the leader of his party. He's the leader of the Congress. He has great responsibilities, and frankly, while he's got great intellect, it's going to take time and effort and application to talking to members and to talking to the country. So he's going to have a challenge accomplishing that objective.
I want to switch to presidential politics for a second. What did you make of Marco Rubio?
I think Rubio is good. I think Rubio speaks well. I think he comes across rational. Rubio's problem is he does not appeal to the disaffected, the anxious, and the angry in the Republican Party. That's why Trump and Carson and Cruz and some others are doing so well, and making that, and why Bush is doing so poorly, unless he can appeal to those. And frankly, he's changed his position on comprehensive immigration reform because the right wing of his party didn't like it. So we'll see what issues he takes as presidential candidate, and whether those resonate with the base in his party, which is an angry conservative base.
Let me ask you about the Democratic side as my last question, which is, when voters are looking at their candidates they've got in front of them, what's the one big question they should have in their minds when they're evaluating the candidates?
who can best lead the country, who has the experience, who has the commitment, who has the broader reach to lead this country, to bring our citizens together.
What do you mean by broader reach?
Broader reach in terms of reaching to all factions of the party and all factions of our country, and bringing them together and to lead them. That is what I think Marco Rubio said it best. It's not an accountant's job. It's a job for a leader who can express a vision and then create a consensus to achieve that vision. As you know, I think Hillary Clinton is the person to do that, but I also think Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley, very substantive alternatives who are discussing real issues, and I think that's the difference between the Democratic field and the Republican field.
All right, Congressman Hoyer, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with our panel. Don't go away.